Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're looking closely at Genesis chapter 5 and the very beginning of Genesis 6, just those first 8 verses.
Right.
We're drawing from some really insightful podcast discussions you've probably heard, focusing on these passages. Our mission really is to uncover some of the significance hidden maybe beneath the surface, especially in that long genealogy in chapter 5. It seems straightforward, but maybe it's not.
Well, yeah, that's the interesting thing. Genesis 5, it's not just a family tree,
Yeah.
you know? It's actually a crucial link.
A link? How so?
It connects the dots, basically, from creation in Eden right up to the story of the flood. So, yeah, it gives us the lineage, but it's also tracing this long downward slide of humanity almost subtly.
Okay, yeah, I see that. And then right in the middle of all the repetitive lived so many years, and he died, you hit Enoch, Genesis 5.24.
Ah, Enoch. Yeah.
It just says, Enoch walks with God, and he was not, for God took him. He doesn't die like the others.
Exactly. He breaks the pattern.
And that phrase, walked with God, you don't see that everywhere in the Bible, do you? It feels special.
No, you really don't. It's quite rare, which makes it stand out even more. It suggests something very deep.
Like what exactly? What does walked with God imply here?
Well, it points to a really consistent day-to-day fellowship, a life lived in close alignment, in agreement, you could say, with the Creator. Think trust, obedience, a shared journey.
And it's striking, isn't it? The text doesn't list any, grand achievements for Enoch.
No big battles won, no cities built.
Right. Just faithfulness, quiet faithfulness, it seems, for 300 years, while the world around him was apparently getting worse.
Precisely. And that really makes you pause and think about what God values, especially compared to maybe what the culture valued then, or even now. It suggests a different measure of significance.
Yeah, it really does. So Enoch stands out, but then as we transition to chapter 6, the whole picture changes, doesn't it?
It shifts dramatically. The atmosphere becomes much darker. We read about increasing corruption, this breakdown of order, maybe symbolized by that mention of the sons of God and the daughters of men.
Okay, yeah, that part always raises questions. What's going on there?
Well, interpretations vary, don't they? Some see it as powerful human lines intermarrying against God's design. Others lean towards traditions involving angelic beings. Either way, it signals a kind of chaos, a blurring of divine order.
Which leads right into that incredibly stark description in Genesis 6, verse 5.
It's powerful.
The Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every intention of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually.
Wow. Yeah. It's about as bleak as it gets. Just total corruption from the inside out.
And then God's reaction in the very next verse.
Yeah, it's almost shocking.
It is.
Sure.
Verse 6 says, the Lord regretted that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him to his heart.
Regret and grief. That's incredibly potent language. It shows how deeply affected God is by this turn of events. It really does. It paints a picture of, well, heartbreak. It underscores the depth of the relationship, even in its brokenness.
But then, just when it seems completely hopeless, verse 8 arrives, like a turning point.
Yes. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord, a single ray of light.
And interestingly, later on, Noah is also described using language similar to Enoch's.
Yeah.
He's called righteous, blameless, and it says he walked with God.
Exactly. There's that phrase again, or a very close echo. So you have these two individuals, Enoch before the flood, Noah leading up to it, living in deeply corrupt times.
And what sets them apart?
It's this relationship, this walk with God.
So the takeaway for you listening seems pretty clear, doesn't it? It suggests that what truly matters, what distinguishes people in God's eyes, isn't necessarily power or fame or big accomplishments.
Right. It's not the outward stuff.
It's that consistent, faithful connection, that daily walk, that relationship, even when, maybe especially when, everything around seems to be heading the wrong way.
Precisely. The contrast is just so stark between the world spiral and the quiet faithfulness of these two men. It really highlights character and relationship over, worldly success metrics.
And this whole situation, of course, sets the stage perfectly for what comes next in the narrative.
Story of Noah's Ark.
Which we'll definitely be exploring in our next deep dive, this incredible picture of rescue, judgment, but also faith and obedience.
Absolutely. And maybe, just as a final thought for you to consider, reflect on that idea of walking with God.
Yeah.
What could that look like practically in your own life, right where you are, whatever your circumstances?
Yeah, something worth pondering.